Making takfir is a black magic practice. The reason for this is to declare someone to be a kafir or an unbeliever, an apostate, a traitor. It has an impact upon the person who is being declared outside of the fold of Islam and his or her associates, their circles, anyone who listens to the claim, and outside actors who are within the Ummah in some shape or form. So let's think about this. So recently I read a tweet from, I believe it was Nomad Soul from the end of October of 2022. And he was saying how words and phrases like conspiracy theorist, anti-V, flat earther, were actually black magic spells, and they're part of a black magic practice called binding. Now, I've never really looked deep into the magical arts and sciences. I'm very wary of this. I tend to have a working definition of magic as the vibratic manipulation of matter and mind. And so it's related to mind control tactics. And so what happens is, effectively, when someone declares someone to be a kafir, and they make takfir on them, and they declare them apostate and treasonous to the Ummah and to Islam, they basically, first, it has the effect of attempting to shut down the accused one by the accuser. Now, when I say black magic is associated with Satan and the shayateen. The word Satan means enemy. It means opponent. It means accuser. So this is actually a deliberate use that I'm utilizing this phrasing. That takfir is black magic and it is satanic. It is a binding spell. It is intended to shut down the accused, prevent them from speaking further about whatever they're engaged in speaking. It is intended to shut down their circle of supporters and perhaps turn those supporters against the accused, and have them distance themselves, and to make sure that the listeners do not further listen to them or investigate their claims. And it's also to ensure that mentally ill or mentally unstable people within the Ummah who may be engaged in tremendous sin may take action in the absence of a state apparatus to torture and kill this individual. Effectively, when you in the circles of people who are statists, who hold the state as the ultimate authority and worship at the altar of the totalitarian, dictatorial, authoritarian state and ruling apparatus, those people who rule who worship at that altar, they think that the state has the right to inflict violence upon people who are deemed problematic to the religious and secular establishment. And they attempt to shut down all discourse and censor what they perceive as opponents. It is very, and statists typically behave as gangsters. It's a gang mentality. And it's, you've got the capo, it's basically a cartel. And they are often engaged in whatever the business of the state might be, whether it's arms sales, whether it is slavery and enslaving. There have been many different ways of feeding the state apparatus through taxation, etc. But we got to consider that there are going to be mentally ill and mentally unstable people within the Ummah that are statists who, if the state's not going to step in and handle business for them, then some people feel they need to take care of it for themselves. Now, currently within the Ummah, we have a lot of mentally unstable people who are engaged in, they're really deep in dark pornography and, seeing prostitutes, drug usage, violence, things that they know are sinful and that they feel guilty about and bad about, and they do not want to, they're already in a form of hell in this world. But they want to try to make sure that they can go to an afterlife that is pleasant, or at least not bad. So there are those who have interpreted source materials to say that some people get a get out of hell card if they do things that would be of benefit to the Ummah, like eliminating enemies of the Ummah, of the Prophet, peace be upon him, of the scholarly apparatus, etc. And so they would be willing to do violence on the part of, on behalf of the Ummah and the authorities, in the absence of state violence. So effectively, when somebody makes takfir, they are very much engaged. It's a gangland hit. And to leave a gang is blood in, blood out. So many people have a street gang mentality. And so we need to consider that this is not only a black magic spell intended to shut down the accused, it is intended to eliminate his or her support base, and to make them then question what they have learned from this person and distance themselves, including family and friends. It may encourage fringe mentally ill people in the community to do acts of violence in absence of state-sponsored violence, and they feel that they now have a get-out-of-jail card potentially, or at least a get-out-of-hell card. So there are many different ways of looking at this. Also, the thing is, it's black magic because it also impacts the speaker of takfir and their supporters. Why is this? Is as the person speaks it, they're reinforcing in their mind that they have a very fragile belief system, and that if they can declare someone else to be an apostate or a kafir, then it could also be said of them by their enemies. So it reinforces that they need to double down and strengthen their attachment to an aqidah, their attachment to a belief system, which is not actually real yaqeen. Real certainty comes through experience and through nur. It is not, you cannot memorize your way to truth. This is literally impossible and against natural law. You can have frameworks that point the way to right practice, and then right practice over time will have impacts that will lead to insight, inshallah. But so also the people who are declaring takfir, their circles then feel an insecurity about themselves. So it reinforces the power, the authority apparatus of whoever it might be, whether it's religious or secular authorities. It reinforces their power. And so typically it's going to come from priests and scribes, who were the main enemies and opponents of Isa alayhi salam in his time. When Isa, Yeshua, our Messiah, he was declared to be an apostate. He was declared to be a traitor against the Roman state and the Jewish establishment, against the Sanhedrin, against the priests and the scribes, and the proto-Talmudic authoritative scholarly movement and apparatus or community. So he was considered to be a blasphemer against God, against Allah. So he was declared to be an apostate, a blasphemer, and a traitor. So this is quite interesting. So again, they were engaged in black magic because they were manipulating people, they were manipulating matter, because there were actions that flowed out from those statements, attempted and actual, and had a reverberation throughout space and time that has continued on to this day, and also had backlash to this day. So we'll consider this further, but consider that takfir is a very dangerous black magic practice that also has a serious cause and effect ramification over the short and the long term, which we will consider further in the future, inshallah. And it encourages criminal behavior. It is outside of the range of natural law because it undermines free will. It undermines free discourse and exchange of ideas and the ability to disagree and to come to fresh conclusions. And oftentimes what's really going on with takfir historically has been the elimination of a competitive way of thinking and behaving. Competitive visions, alternative visions of Islam. Because there have always been many different visions of Islamic understandings and readings of Quran and the outer signs and the inner signs. And so you've always had close-minded, close-hearted, close-fisted opponents to those who have a more expansive vision and more expansive full-heartedness and reason and logic that is based in surrender in harmony with natural law. So let's consider these things, and may we align with natural law, and may we come out of misery and wrong view, which leads to wrong practice and leads to long-term ramifications and reverberance that stretch down through the ages. May we come out of our misery so that we can prevent people from entering the flames. Till next time, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.